Lightning like Steve McQueen. I'm in the fast lane when the light turns green. And I built tough, I ain't nothing but grit. Cause I made rugged blood, sweat, and spit. Yeah, like a horse I fly. Better push yourself in for a bumpy ride. I like to play hard, but I work harder. And I weather the storm cause I'm built stronger.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? We are back. We are live. It is the Freight Coach Morning Show, the top morning show in transportation, coming to you guys every single weekday, 8:30 a.m. Pacific, 10:30 Central, to break down some industry headlines, and most importantly, provide some actual insight into what you can do with all of this information. If this is your first time tuning in, welcome. This is the real side of freight, ladies and gentlemen. And I say that before every single show. And what I mean by that is I only speak to transportation professionals on this show, as well as my twice a week long form podcast, because I want to talk to the right individuals who have done what you're looking to do or who are currently doing what you're trying to achieve. So you can take that information, apply it, utilize it, and see a meaningful difference in your business and your life. Happy Tuesday, everybody. Tracy St. Clair, good morning to you, coming in over on YouTube. You guys, before I bring up my guest for today, you guys, we're going to be talking about driver fitness and driver health and all of that stuff going on. I did release a new episode as well this morning with Lance Bouchard. We talked about heavy haul freight. We talked about choosing a niche, building a book of business inside of that niche, best practices and everything else. So that's available on all podcast platforms out there. But with that being said, you guys, I'm going to bring my guy back on here. He's been on the show before. He is the one who's really spearheading this driver health movement. I got my man, Mark Manera, back on the show. Mark, thank you so much for joining me.
Chris, thank you so much for having me.
Dude, no, I'm pumped to have you back on. We don't get to talk very often because we're both, you're like, you're building stuff right now. You're out there making things happen. So like, what's new in your world, man?
A lot. You know, I think it's so interesting taking a step back and thinking it through like my whole journey, because I got started like, again, 3.5 years ago. My background is I'm a physical therapist. I was not in transportation. A bunch of truck drivers walked into the clinic that I was working in, and it just threw me down this rabbit hole of trucking. And I haven't looked back. And, you know, I got into it doing like the fitness guy in the industry, doing workouts in trucks, outside of their trucks, and just honestly got so much experience day to day of the lifestyle of a driver, you know, getting to see how trucking companies operate, working with them and helping them mitigate risk from, you know, the unhealthy drivers they have behind the wheel. And then also being able to like pull the curtain back at the insurance level. And as I've gotten deeper and deeper into it, it's just like really giving me a much better understanding of how do we change the way this industry thinks about health and really, you know, make trucking a healthier place to work for everyone. That's people behind the wheel, that's people in the office, but that's also people, you know, in the warehouse, at the dock, and in the shop as well.
Yeah, I want to start seeing more of a healthier, you know, lifestyle out there, you know, just as a whole, right? Like, and, you know, I know, Mark, you know this, we've talked about this in the past. Like, I spent the majority of my life obese, right? Like the majority of my life was unhealthy and everything else. And, you know, I've over these last couple of years, I've really taken on, you know, getting healthier, because like, I mean, I know that this saying sounds ridiculous, but it is true. Health is wealth, right? And when you're out there and you're healthy, and, you know, I've been sober now for 17, 18 months. And it's like a whole new world that exists, man. And this is coming from somebody who literally drank at least 2 bottles of whiskey a week just at my house. Like, that wasn't including drinks at bars and lunch and everything else. So to put it into context for anybody out there who's saying, you know, like, oh, this and that, like, I drank way more than a normal person should actually do. So, you know, I'm saying that though, because like, you can overcome a lot of these things, and it's not, yeah, it's difficult and it can be challenging out there in certain scenarios, but like, dude, choices are everything, right? Like, I'm literally, as soon as we're done with our show here today, like, I'm flying out to go see a customer of mine. Then I'm flying up to Minnesota. I'm going to Indiana, then I'm going to Minnesota to speak, and then go visit some prospects. And yeah, I'm planning out my meals. I packed my protein powder. I packed protein bar. Like, I got all of that stuff in there, so I know I can hit my macros and everything else. And, you know, the hard part is like, after a long day of travel and you just want like a fucking burger, and, you know, I got to go with the double chicken Caesar salad and stuff like that instead.
So you're mentally drained, right? I think that's honestly one of the biggest barriers I see just people in this industry as a whole, especially when you get into more industrial workers from a shift perspective. And, and then you add like the craziness of trucking and potentially your shifts change day to day and then your sleep's all out of whack. And it's like, the last thing I want to do is exactly what you said, grab a salad and do a workout. I want to veg out and watch Netflix, right? And so I completely agree with you on that.
Dude, but I think like how important is it? Carla Isted, howdy buckaroo. I love that. Thanks for tuning in, Carla. Micah Campo, good morning to you. How important is it though? Like, are you working with people, about, food prep or building up a routine? And, how are you really working with individuals? Because like, it's easy to sit here and like, because everybody knows what to eat. Everybody knows what to do, right? It's the application of things, because you're right, man. When you're fucking tired, you're exhausted. You've been driving for 11 hours, legal 11 hours, right?
Yeah.
And you've been doing all of that. The last thing you want to do is push yourself in those moments. So like, how are you working with people to build up a routine or build up that discipline?
Yeah. So, I mean, it kind of goes back to what I've learned over the last 3 years of working with these people. And what I've recognized time after time is that like this industry as a whole, and I'll target drivers, a lot of drivers in general, is like that the normal average driver has given up on their health. And it's both on the ground with their lifestyle, but also trying to figure out and use the healthcare system as whole. Like they feel like, their mindset is like, this thing is confusing. It's complex. I don't really know how to fit it into my lifestyle. And so I'm just going to live with it. And, they're living with it until it's too late. And either a medical emergency happens or unfortunately, and there's some really scary stats on like they die early, right? And there's a lot of really scary stuff there. And, I'm on a mission every day of trying to cut that number down because the average truck driver dies 16 years earlier. And so what we do is we work with trucking companies and we do two things. So we pair them with a concierge health coach who focuses on, number one, creating a custom health plan that's focused on lifestyle-based conditions like physical activity, nutritional habits, medication adherence, and even preventing musculoskeletal injuries. Mm-hmm. We say all of those things focused on two different factors, being time efficient and environment specific. So the biggest barrier, and we kind of talked about it earlier, is that, the lack of time. So it's things of how do I not flip my whole lifestyle upside down, but how do I just insert healthier habits and healthier activities into my current day-to-day routine and just find these little crevices where, I can be 1% healthier here. And really what I focus on is just how do we get that and do it on a consistent basis? And then the second aspect, go for it.
No, go.
The second aspect is how do we help simplify access to the healthcare system and help them maximize, their health benefits and just get the preventative care that we all deserve to have. For example, 50% of truck drivers don't have a primary care doctor. When I think about that, it's like the hierarchy of need. I can run someone around the truck. I can get them eating healthier, but if they're not going to see their doctor for an annual physical and blood work, like let's start with the basics. Right. And a lot of the times those basics build up momentum. And then, it's like anything, you start exercising or you start eating healthier. And then the other one fumbles in because it's like, well, I just went for a run. I don't want to just go to town on a bunch of Twinkies and ruin that run. So I'm going to eat healthier as well. And what we've found is that oftentimes, we can not only increase utilization of healthcare and a lot of the times most people don't use any of their health benefits at all at a company, and they don't even know what they have available to them. So we're helping them maximize it, know how to access it, and then also on top of it, make lifestyle changes at the same time.
Yeah, I think, again, I'm not a health expert. I want to be abundantly clear with everything that I'm about to say here. I'm not a health expert. I'm not giving advice on anything. I'm just going to explain to everybody my reality about what I did out there, because, dude, when back in 2020, when I started doing my business, like, bro, like all the gyms were shut down. We all know what was happening in 2020. And then on top of that, man, I could only afford a Planet Fitness fucking membership at the time, right? It was $10. It was next to my house. That's all I could afford out there. But I started walking more than anything. I started walking, and then I bought a food scale. I didn't even know what the fuck I was measuring. I just knew that I was measuring shit on a food scale. But it was really about finding the balance of, because like this probably took me about 3.5 years, man, to actually understand what the ideal macros were, what, the protein levels, carbohydrate levels, and all of that stuff, and really how to get a lot of that. Micah says that the lifestyle changes will prevent the need for a doctor, and you're right. I would say that it severely reduces definitely the needs to go and talk to people. But like, because again, I had saw all the the fitness influence. I followed all that shit. I wanted the 6-pack. I wanted all this stuff, but I was always fat, right? Like I was always fat for the majority of my life. And again, I drank to excess, more days than not. But again, like I figured it out on my own, right? Because I didn't have the money for a gym membership. I definitely didn't have the money for a fucking trainer at that time. So I just again, YouTube University. I just started following, because I'm like, well, these fucking dudes are either taking roids or they know what they're talking about, and they're all measuring out their food. So I'm going to start measuring out my food. And I kind of started there, and I really started cleaning things up like one meal at a time is really what I did. Is I'm like, all right, I'm going to eat eggs every single morning for breakfast. Like, I'm not going to fucking eat a bagel. I'm not going to eat anything. I'm going to eat eggs every day. I know turkey sausage is supposed to be better than regular, so I'm going to start eating turkey sausage. Again, I'm not a dietitian. I'm just telling you guys what worked for me. So I started there, and then I transitioned into lunch, where I'm like, hey, I'm going to just measure out a couple 100 grams of rice, steamed rice, and I'm going to start putting some chicken on that, or turkey sausage, and everything else. And then I slowly kind of built into that. And then what I did is I built up my workouts around my work schedule and everything else. Like I'm not in a truck all day long, but I don't work 3 hours a day. I have a long schedule, but again, it was building that stuff up. And dude, I've just found that the more simple I keep my workouts, the more simple I keep my diets, it's a lot easier to stay on that, right? Like, dude, I did 75 hard. I'm on the Live Hard program. I would highly recommend anybody to check that out. It's free. But the outdoor workout, man, is my favorite part. Like, I love going outside for 45 minutes and not going for a casual walk, but I'm breaking a sweat and I'm doing that. And I love fucking being outside for that. And it's finding those little things. And again, you guys are probably way more smart than I am with this stuff. And it took me a very long time, but I found what worked for me. And if you go conventional wisdom routes, people are going to be like, you can't do that. I have a high fat, high protein diet, and your boy's at about 14% body fat right now, close to 10%. And I know what works for me now. It took me a long time to get there, but dude, it was just making those small incremental changes, because I don't go to the doctor. All right. Well, I do now. And
I was going to say, you should go get an annual physical, get some blood work. But hopefully the lifestyle changes just don't make you have to go deeper into the healthcare system.
For sure.
That's what I would say. But off of what you were saying there is that, I think in general, I think simple is definitely the way to go. And I think most people try to overcomplicate it. And when it comes to physical activity, most people just need to move more. They need to go on more walks, if they want to go lift weights. And honestly, both on the physical activity and nutrition side of things, the best recipe is the one that you do for on a consistent basis for a long time. Yeah. You can make changes to your diet. You can do some type of exercise. And if you do it for a year straight, there's literally no chance you're not going to see improvements. You're going to see improvements. And I like going outside for a walk as well, because it's more mentally, it gets my mental, for my mental health as well. But, I think for the diet side of things, so many people put like all of their marbles in like one camp. And like, the truth is there's like 12 different diets that all work, and it's just your preferences, and it's finding a way to, if you want to get scientific, getting in a caloric deficit. But in general, most people just need to focus on the basics of that we all know: eating more protein, lean protein, eating more fruits and vegetables, not drinking as much sugar or alcohol, and moving more. And most of the time, if you check those boxes, you're moving in a really good direction.
Dude, I eat steak or ground beef every single day. I have every single day this year. Again, I portion it all out. I eat for my breakfast, for example, I eat 4 whole eggs. I do 14 grams of butter. And I do 2 slices of ham, because I fucking like ham.
Nice.
I do that, a protein bar, and then I mix in protein shakes and stuff like that. But again, like, dude, I do I use my air fryer for my potatoes, and I chop them up into little bits, and it's like I'm eating fucking French fries, right? Because again, I am the biggest fat kid at heart, like the biggest. So I found ways that work though. But again, like you can eat steak, you can eat all of that. And again, I eat ribeye steak. I don't eat lean shit. I fucking love ribeye. It's my favorite cut, but I weigh it out. I portion it out. It's only 8 ounces. I want to eat the whole fucking thing, but I don't. And again, like so it's like you can eat really fucking good food when you're on this stuff. And again, it's not as hard. The hardest part with just like with everything is going to be starting. And yeah, you know what? It fucking sucks when I see people eating cookies and pizza and everything else. And I want to eat that shit. But with some of the health stuff that I've been recently diagnosed with, and again, I'm actually putting out a podcast on all of this to kind of explain it a little bit more. But like, I need to keep my inflammation low, like very low. Otherwise, it's fucking bad on what happens to me. Like I can't move and shit. So unfortunately, like, and this stuff what I have is hereditary. So it's not like it was something that I did, but now I'm just speaking to somebody as somebody who's going through shit right now. You don't want to get to the irreversible damages that can be caused of this because dude, my dad died of heart issues, right? Like he was 66 years old. You know, like obesity, all of this shit runs in my family, just like it does with most people's family at the end of the day. But obesity is self-inflicted. All right. It is like, it's not like, I just think that, yeah, you can seek comfort in certain areas, but at the end of the day, like you got to be the motherfucker who makes that choice because it gets to a point where there is no coming back and it could have been prevented.
Well, you know, first off, like, and so I'm excited to hear about the podcast. I think that's really cool. You're being transparent about it. And I'm sure that's not easy trying to go through and navigate that. So it's probably scary. So hopefully you're doing well on that end. And, you know, I think for most people, and like, I think there's like ends of the spectrum, right? You know, you've got like the person who just like whatever is in front of them, they're eating. And then you've got, you know, you've got very, very strict goals of like, I want to get down to 10% body fat. I'm trying to get from a physique standpoint. And then most people fit in this middle ground where they just want to have more energy. They want to feel better. They want to fit better in their clothes. Maybe they want to lose 10, 20 pounds. And what I always say is like, you don't have to hate yourself to live a healthy life, right?
Correct.
I'm going to eat some ice cream. I'm going to eat some cookies but I'm not going to eat the whole pint of Ben and Jerry's, right? And so it's like it's a balancing act. And have you ever heard the concept, the second arrow, the parable of the second arrow? Do you know what that is?
No, I haven't actually.
Okay. This has been something I learned this last Friday. I legitimately have not been able to get out of my head because to me, it is like the biggest thing. And this is across all of life. And so the concept is that whenever something doesn't go your way or something bad happens in life, and let's just use the example of like trying to solve for a diet, right? You like go to a party and you just go to town on some Papa John's and like 2 pizzas later, you're like, oh shit, what just happened here, right? And the concept is that everyone has the first arrow that hits you, right? That first arrow, the bad event, it stings, it hurts every time. But what happens is in every one of those events, there's also a second arrow, and it's how we emotionally and mentally respond to the first arrow. Yeah. And oftentimes, especially in health, that second arrow, when you just let it go and you're like, screw it, I'm done. My diet's screwed. I'm just going to go to town and keep eating, or, you know, I'm going to give up on this for a month or two. Oftentimes the second arrow is what actually ruins or causes more damage than just like the first arrow as a whole. And the second arrow is optional, and it's how you respond to the situation. And so I think for most people, when, you know, you eat a cookie or, you know, you maybe get off of what you're in your head is like your diet, you know, that can be a really troubling path of getting off and just kind of saying, screw it. Or you can say, all right, I enjoyed it. I'm going to take a step back and now get back on path.
Yeah, I think that I spent so many times in my life of I'll just start Monday, you know, like I'll just start Monday. And, you know, again, it's so much easier to sit up here and discuss this knowing the work that I've put in, right? So it's like, you know, if any of for the majority of the people who are listening to this, they follow me on social media, but I post the same thing literally every single day of me going into the gym, whether I'm traveling or not. And, you know, it's, you know, discipline over everything. And that is what is cultivated over, but like, again, it took me 4 fucking years, right? And I'm not trying to say this to deter anybody, but yes, it's hard, right? It is. It's very hard to change a lifetime
Yeah.
of eating, but at the end of the day, it's very doable. And I just, speaking from experience, you don't want it to be, it's gone too far.
Correct.
This is irreversible. There is no coming back from this, because a lot of the stuff that's out there, again, it's preventable, right? And again, not to discredit anybody's jobs or anything like that, but you got time, right? Like, I want to challenge everybody who's listening to this show, either live or on the recording later on. Go onto your Instagram app.
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna pull it up right here. Go to your Instagram or your social media. Go to your profile. Go under settings and activity, and go to time spent. Okay, I want you to pull up the time spent tab. And you guys can't see this, but I've been working on this, and I don't know if you can, but it says 22 minutes on Instagram. That's my time spent every single day, is 22 minutes. It was at almost 2 hours. Okay. So again, you have the time. It's there.
Yeah, I completely agree. And, I think the other thing for people listening is like, Chris's journey can be different than your journey, right? Sure. Your discipline or your consistency is maybe not 4 a.m. at Planet Fitness or whatever gym every single morning. Yeah. And your level of discipline could be, or consistency could be, I'm going to start one time a week going for a walk, and every Monday at whatever time I decide, it is on my calendar. I'm booked it. Okay, I get that on a consistent basis. Now, let me just go to the next level. I'm going to add another walk on Wednesdays. I'm going to get consistent. It's my, disciplined over everything, and it's twice a week. I'm checking that box. Yep. Okay, and then what happens is it's just like going down a hill, right? You just like start building momentum, and all of a sudden now you're at Chris's level, like screaming disciplined at everything and measuring every single one of your meals and like having these physique goals. But it doesn't always have to start that way, and oftentimes, you can find a really sweet spot where, you don't have to feel like you have to completely change everything in your life to achieve some of these goals that you have. And you have to be realistic, just like in your career, of like, what goals do you have and what work is going to take to get to these goals. But I think that's something important to really recognize as well.
Yeah. Thanks for tuning in, Micah. I appreciate it. Yeah, dude, I think that, you're right in all of that stuff is, because it's fucking intimidating, right?
Yeah.
It's super intimidating. And I think that that's what stopped me for a long time. I don't know about other people, but that's what stopped me for a really long time is I'm like, man, I'm too far gone. I'm in my 30s. Like, I don't need to do any of this shit. And, and then it was intimidating. Every time I went to the gym, like, you see people who are just fucking jacked walking around, and you're like, that's not for me. That's not me. And, again, for people who like, I'm 38 years old, you guys. So again, it's not too late to start.
Was yours, when you were going through that, at like that period of time where you wanted to get started, was it like the intimidation at the gym and you weren't exercising, and you were eating really bad, or was it you were kind of consistent on the gym, but like you really had to change a lot of things with the alcohol and diet side of things?
It was never a problem for me to go to the gym.
Okay.
It was a problem for me to kind of stick with something long enough, because, my best friend's going to hear this and he's going to laugh. I always want to change shit all the time, right? Because I'm like, oh, it's not working. Let me change. Oh, it's not working. Let me change. Let me try this thing. Let me try that thing. And really, when it boiled down, and again, like, I just started that this year, at the beginning of this year is, and even then it's still, I still fucking think that there's an easier route, but like, you got to stick with it for a long time before you start seeing some change. And, like, again, at my heaviest, I was like 250 pounds, I think. And, it dropping the first 20 was easy. Like, it fell off. And that was, again, me not knowing what the fuck I was doing. And it's, but yeah, it's, kind of going from there. It was the hard part for me was the consistency aspect of things. It didn't happen fast enough. And dude, I loved whiskey and I love fucking pizza. That's what it was. So it was like, oh, it's Friday, I'm going to celebrate. We made it through the week, and just the typical shit like that. And that's why there was never any results, is because I never stuck with anything long enough.
Yeah, no, that's very interesting, and I think that's a lot of people probably can resonate with that, including myself. And I think that's not only in the fitness side of things, but other aspects of life as well. So I completely agree. Yeah.
Yeah, Sonny brings up a good point here. Water, 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 water. I literally carry this 3 of these in a day is a gallon. 3 of these in a day is a gallon. So, yeah, just put that out there. But yeah, man, I think that it's the easy route, the path of least resistance. That's what most people want to fall into, and there's always something out there, 10-minute this, or, you only need to do this. And you don't. Like, you need to actually, it's a discipline issue, and you got to be committed to the process on it, because it's, the drivers, like you brought up there, man, 16 years, dude, 16 years. Like, that's an alarming amount an alarming amount of time. And then all the fitness that goes on out there with heart disease and everything else, man. Like, it's dude, I don't know.
Well, highest rates of obesity and diabetes compared to any other occupation in the United States. They've got 2 times higher rates of heart disease and hypertension and depression compared to the average US worker. And there's just like this vicious cycle that a lot of drivers get stuck in. And for me, it's like, how do we insert ourselves into this cycle and start breaking it up and finding ways that we can incorporate healthier routines? Because I can't tell a driver that you have to flip your whole lifestyle around. You need to change your schedule like this. There's some things on the diet side of things we can incorporate and add into your truck, so you're not having to eat at Love's Truck Stop or McDonald's attached to it every single day. But even if that is where they're eating, what I've seen is like, let's go down this aisle, grab a protein bar instead of going down this aisle and grabbing a Snickers, right? And like, just some of these small changes. And like, I mean, you can see it if you go on my LinkedIn, like, we're trying to share more and more stories of successes that we have with drivers and some of the members that we're working with the companies that we're working with. And, it's not these, like, I'm handing you a meal plan and you've got to start tomorrow of getting rid of everything in your truck or getting everything in your pantry and like, go spend a couple $100s to buy new groceries. Like, that is one path. You can if you want, but we can also just take a habit-based approach and just start eating more protein throughout the day instead of just a bunch of bags of Doritos.
Dude, I agree, man. Well, Mark, how does anybody reach out to you though? How does anybody find out more about what you're trying to do here?
Yeah, so my company's name's Offshift. So like, you're on shift, you're off shift. And so the website's offshift.ai. And then if you want to find me on LinkedIn, Dr. Mark Manera, and send me a message and let's talk.
I love it. Yeah, man. I think that, health is something, again, it's very challenging. I'm not going to say that it's an easy thing to do, but man, it's the best thing that you can, like, it's the best investment that you can make at the end of the day, is reinvesting in yourself, reinvesting in your health. Yeah, it's hard. Yeah, it's intimidating. Yeah, there's a bunch of shit out there. But again, you just got to take it one day at a time. I can't stress that enough. You got to take it one day at a time, every fucking day. And when it gets really challenging, 1 hour at a time, that's what I rely on a lot, is that 1 day, 1 hour mentality to kind of get through some shit. But well, Mark, I appreciate it, brother. Thank you so much for joining. I'm going to have you back on, dude. I'll have you back on when I'm about to finish, or when I'm about to start phase 3 of Live Hard here, because I'm almost done with phase 1 and I got to space it out for the rest of the year. But yeah, man, we'll do that. And we'll just keep having you come on periodically.
Awesome, man. Chris, thank you so much for having me.
Hey, anytime, man. And hey, you guys, we will be back. I think tomorrow is going to be a quick little live show. Again, I'm going out on the road here. There's not going to be a live show on Thursday, but we will be going live on Friday. We're going to be talking about financials. All right. I'm having one of my friends from Denim come on the show, you guys. It was tax day yesterday. We're going to talk about building your company financials, building your credit. How do you become factorable? How do you improve your company finances and everything? That'll be on Friday, 8:30 a.m. Pacific, 10:30 Central. As always, you guys, if you guys got value in what you heard, subscribe to the show, you guys. Share it out there to your network, because if you see value, your network will see value as well. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys, and we'll be talking to you soon.